Thank you for taking a minute out for the show today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. So before we get in to your new album, Both Sides, I want to begin with 6 years ago, this pandemic was doing a number on all of us, especially the music community. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you do things today?
So the pandemic was actually not bad for me because my son was born in June 2020. So I was planning on touring right up to the very end. And the pandemic actually forced me to rest, which was really great. And then when he was born, I guess I didn't have, FOMO because nobody was doing anything.
Yeah.
So that was great for me because I was forced to stay home. I wasn't thinking about trying to make any gigs really. Um, and I had a newborn baby. So it was actually not that bad during the year of the pandemic. Subsequently, though, it became really hard because, after a while, he was a little bit more grown, and I was still not working. I wasn't playing, and it was really hard, to just feel like part of your identity is so tied to what you do, and then all of a sudden you're not doing it. And yeah, that alongside having a toddler, like a 1-year-old was extremely hard and it really sent me for a loop. But it was a good thing eventually because basically the structure I had built of who I am and what I do and all of that kind of crumbled. And even though it was very painful, it was helpful because what I rebuilt fe feels mu much more solid.
So talk to me about this new album. You have a wonderful lineup of musicians on here. It seems like it was a real labor of love. Give me an idea, portal in to the construction and vision of this album.
So it was all very organic. I've been playing with Shakoor for 15 years. I've been playing with Rashaan for many years. Miguel was the newest addition to the quartet. I felt right away that, his voice really gelled with us. And it all happened very organically. I was planning on writing some stuff and then I wrote it and then we just found a date, went into the studio and recorded and it was very natural. It was not even yeah, it seemed effortless in a way, the way everything panned together. And then after we had done this side of quartet stuff, I was talking to a friend of mine who was sort of advising me through the whole process. Um, and I was explaining the songs to him because he's not a musician. And he said, "Why don't you record this? Because it's very interesting. It gives me a doorway into the music." And I took that idea and instead of just having me explain what the record is, I wrote poems or prose and then we went and did the second half of it, maybe like a couple months later.
So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Hmm. I'm hoping to both to get a window in time of our creative process, but also to bring both the abstract and the tangible, to offer this instrumental music that's designed to make you dream. If you're just listening to it, it can make you think of anything. You can add any meaning that you want to it. So I'm hoping that the colors of it will bring the listener to imagine things. And then I'm also hoping that the side where there's a narration will help bring the person in so that they have an idea of what the music is about, what it's constructed to be. So I'm hoping both to expand the imagination of the person and also give them something that they can relate to.
So right now in America, we're going through a lot of things. There's a lot of stress between war and immigration and things that are going on. And I think that historically in this country specifically, there's always been artists have always been kind of the social glue to keep us together, to give us that community, to give us that level of stress relief. Are you thinking about that more now as a musician putting out recorded music and live shows than maybe you were before? How do you conceptualize and fit within this dichotomy of what we're living through, socially, and what you're doing with your art?
I always think that the truth will set us free. I think that's one of the most beautiful sayings that exist. And as an artist and as a person, I love truth. I have a lot of love for truth. And I think that's a universal thing. Humans love truth. We like truth even if it's painful. Truth is always better than a lie, even if the truth hurts. So to me, when you have truth, you liberate love. If I'm thinking something and I say it as well as I can with as much intention of honesty as I can, I'm freeing up a level of love. And I think that as you know, I've been living here for 15 years off and on, and the thing that I found the most true about the social differences that we have is that when we can be true about ourselves, when we can express something that's true to ourselves, when we can express something that that makes us afraid, it makes us a lot more lovable. When I see someone who comes to me and says honestly what they think, it makes them more lovable, even if they are on the other side of the aisle, even if they're a Republican and I'm a Democrat, or even if they're a man and I'm a woman, whatever it is that we have as a difference. When somebody comes and offers themselves as a truth, it makes them much more lovable. And even people that I don't agree with at all, when they tell me the truth, I like them more because at least they're honest. So to me, I feel that the thing I love the most is truth. I try to be as truthful as possible in my life because the more I'm truthful in my life, the more I'm truthful in my music. And when somebody offers a musical truth, that frees up everything. You can hear it in somebody's solo. Somebody comes and plays a solo that's really intentional, where they're like bringing themselves. Everybody who comes after that will have more truth. So the way I see it is we don't have to heal our differences, as in we don't have to all think the same way. But if we're able to bring truth, we're getting a step closer to getting along. So I want to do that with my music.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just noticed that we interviewed in 2021. You were in Mexico, and it was Reciprocity was the album that we were,
Oh, okay, we did.
which is interesting because of, being out of the country and being in the country. It just kind of adds more hue to that answer. So I'm curious, how do you go about each new project? Like with this project, with Reciprocity, with each successive project, is it a snapshot in time? Is there something you're wanting to do musically? What is your mindset as you approach each new project?
I'm always trying to take my experience at the moment and put that into music. So whatever experience I'm having, when I wrote the songs for Reciprocity, I was pregnant and then I had this little baby. Now my experience is different, I'm much more of the world. I'm not of my child anymore because he's grown. So I'm in the world, I'm doing things, and that's the experience I have. I also have been having a lot of experience around friendship. And friendship is really a key part to my life. And the people that are on this record, all of them are friends to a different degree, but there's really people in my life that have been so important, just so foundational to my life. And if there's anything that made this record happen, it would be friendship. The long friendship, the deep friendship, the kind
Yep.
where you sometimes hate each other and you also adore each other, that kind of friendship.
Yeah. So I got to know. I always like to know this on release day. Do you do anything special? What is your ritual for when the album, because it came out on the 23rd of April? What is your ritual for release day?
That was actually my birthday.
Oh wow. Okay, well then there you go. That answers that question. Did you do
Yeah.
that on purpose?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay, cool. So that had to be extra special.
Yeah, it was. It was like a very nice gift.
Yeah. So, since the last time we spoke in 2021, it was still during the height of the pandemic. We were coming out, we were going back, and there was this undulation. But now, there's this creative visa to kind of go out and play music and get out in the world and mingle more. How has it felt? What are shows coming up? How are you promoting this album?
So I have a bunch of shows coming up with the quartet. The quartet is where my heart is at the moment. So we're doing that. We're working on a US tour in October. We're playing in DC in August. I'm about to do some shows in LA now that are not the quartet. They're actually a duo. I have a duo with Shakoor Hakeem, the percussionist, who's on the record. We also have a record coming out at the end of the year. But also, there's a whole other thing that I actually started to learn during the pandemic. So, I was telling you about like this whole thing I went through where who I was not really a thing anymore. And I was so depressed that I had to find help. So I found help through this school that's called Écoute ton corps in French, which means listen to your body. And the teachings were extremely helpful to me. So I went and I actually studied to become a relationship consultant through their school. So what it taught me was basically a bunch of ways to learn how to be more truthful and to be more accepting of who you are. So by the way, this is something I've been working on. I studied human validation even when I was like in my late teens throughout my 20s. I've always been interested in the healing arts because I've felt what it feels like when you get this beam of health in you. And so what I'm working on now is I'm merging both things. So we actually have a show coming up at Close Up. It's not a quartet, but and I will expand it into a quartet where I'm bringing a little bit of the consulting that I do into the music. So there's more interaction with the audience. Basically, what happens is that we talk about something and then we play a song to that feeling. The song is kind of like a mirroring of the feeling, and it's a very magical thing. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how to say more. When you have a feeling, any kind of feeling, by the way, this is not just meditation where you go and you relax. This is like, okay, this is what's going on with me. I'm annoyed at this thing. And then when you give the feeling a chance to actually live, it has a shelf life, and after a while it transforms into something different, and you become a witness of that, and you gain a lot of freedom. And in my practice, I found that doing this with music, so improvising pieces to how I was feeling, was extremely helpful. So this is what we're doing basically, and I'm working on expanding that idea more and more into my quartet.
That's wonderful. So, if anybody wants to get a copy of this, it's obviously streaming everywhere. But if people want to pick up a copy that will benefit you the most, is Bandcamp the best place to
Yes,
go? Okay.
yes, indeed. Bandcamp is the best platform for us musicians.
And as far as tour dates and everything else going on in your world, where's the best place for people to pick any of that up?
On my website.
Okay. Okay. I will put all of that in the show notes. Well, it's great to catch up with you again. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Best of luck on the release and the live shows. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
Neon Jazz.